Hi, I'm Phil from Driftworks. This is my E30 M3 and I'm in the process of reinventing the suspension completely once again.
It's a new bit of kit we haven't filmed before and haven't used in a very long time.
I'm not sure whether I checked this when I got those BBI CNC knuckles on it.
Right.
And it was still steering weirdly, which ended up being the tyres, which is why we've got cheap tyres on the front of it instead of posh tyres. Yeah, I did this, I can't remember if I filmed it or not anyway, but yeah, this is checking for bumpsteer. We just made some big changes that we haven't filmed on the...
We'll film those later, or before, or whatever.
Hi, me from the future. Totally forgot to explain why we're in this position, having to do this. So, as you've seen at the Nürburgring a little bit, I don't really think I talked about it enough, but the power steering was still playing up massively. All the work that we've done trying to get the Clio electric column power steering system to work properly in the lead up to the Nürburgring, none of it had worked. It still failed at the Nürburgring and left me having to muscle the car around, which was really, really difficult. So the reason why that became a problem with this car is because we fitted these MRT knuckle adapters. These are E36 M3 Evo uprights that we use on the E30. So what they do is move the steering tie rod position closer to the lower arm position here. What that does is increase steering speed, the ratio there, and in the process it actually puts a lot more force on the steering system. As it would with anything, if you put a really quick rack on a car, it would have the same effect, essentially. It's just meaning that there's more leverage on that point. Long term I'd like to come up with a different solution, but for now, because we're short on time, what I'm doing is just putting the steering pin back to its normal position here, but hopefully with more correction, because this kit provides more roll center correction here and tie rod correction here. So by doing that, the forces will go back to being the same as they were on the car, and hopefully the power steering will work again. But what we're probably doing in what we changed there is introducing some bump steer, and what I'm trying to work out is how badly we've introduced bump steer and whether I can fix it or not before we make everything permanent. So essentially this, you remove the spring from the coilover, you've got this kit, this one's by Longacre, you level that, you lock off the steering, this moves up and down with the jack. You've got a 0 point here, and you've got a dial gauge on one side, and you've got this roller that runs on the other side, and essentially what it's doing, you're looking for changes on the dial gauge here as you push the car through bump travel, and we're going to do it downwards as well. It's a bit of a fiddly thing to get set up, so I just need to quickly check whether I've made it work properly or not yet.
I remembered how to use it.
Yeah, so try and sort of...
bear with us then, we'll be back when we're doing the... we'll be back when we're doing the procedure, or when we've done the procedure and we can show you how to do it properly. Yeah. We've had a little mess, haven't we? It's not great news.
It's absolutely terrible. So watch how much this spins as I lower this back down the inch.
We've jacked up 1 inch.
And watch how much this moves. Yeah, that was gone a bit too far, so it's there. So these are those funny American things again. Thou. So
Thousandths of an inch.
Yeah. So hang on, so it did 1 full rotation and a half rotation.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of those things. It says it's 150 thou, is it?
I don't know what that is.
Gotta be.
In real life.
Yeah, it's gotta be. Too many thous.
And what would you be looking for?
So I think when I tested that over a much bigger range. We're talking like over like 2 inches or 2.5 inches. I think I was seeing like less than 10th change there. So yeah, what we've just done there is make stuff bad, and we need to fix it.
With no room to fix it.
Yeah, we've got very limited space to drop that tie rod end.
Well, let's put a wheel on and we can show what we mean.
But it's nice to know that it is broken. It's just how to fix it.
I mean, I'd rather not know. Just
you would know on track, honestly. You would know on track with that. That's so bad, that is.
Right, here's what we're battling then.
You see there how tight that is? And essentially this needs to come down. So I'm going to have to do some measurements to see exactly how much we can bring it down without causing very serious issues.
Today, like a mill.
Yeah. And then obviously once we're limited on that, we can get 10 mil out of that. It just means that I've got to redesign the whole way it bolts in without a castle nut on the bottom. And yeah, once we've got that as far as we can down, then our only hope of correcting bump steer is if we were to raise the rack at this end, which we can't do.
No, because you put a sump in the way.
Because we've lowered the engine onto it, and then I've had to make it extremely tight. So yeah, I don't think there's much chance of doing any raising there. And then the only one after that is that then bump steer's a cause of a relationship between the tie rod and the lower arm there. So this is roll center corrected here dramatically. So if we then need to correct bump steer more, we're going to have to raise that. We're going to have to basically remove spacing here and raise this closer towards the knuckle. So yeah, joyous, fun, tedious things. Nothing like normal.
No, it's in a week or so, I suppose.
So we believe we've got, I don't know, maybe 9 mil clearance before the rod end will hit the inner barrel of the wheel there. So we're just going to simulate with some washers, 8.8, nice cheap washers.
Yeah, you've used the most expensive washers in the world to do this.
it's only temporary, but Yeah,
they're going back in that tub.
Yeah, definitely. So this will allow us to just bolt this up so it's tight enough so that we can then put the gear on it again and check whether it has fixed the bump steer issue. Then we've got to actually work out how we're going to do this properly, because we obviously don't want loads of washers.
Okay, so we're back in action.
So back to zero, back to level. Steering's locked off, and I forgot to mention the first time, I think, but you start off with this at ride height. So it's really important that you jack to a measurement that we've taken from here to here, though I know that is pretty much our ride height. So let's see what difference we've made now. So we're on 45. Ooh, interesting. So massive improvement.
But it's still one full turn nearly.
That's basically, we've improved it by a third. So yeah, it's one full turn now instead of 1.5 over an inch. So basically what we did there, we need to do at least again, and we know we can't do that. So I've got to have a good think about how to solve this problem now, because in reality, the most sensible thing to do is to see whether I can raise the rack up a little bit. Stay with us.
Simply raise the rack into the sump. Can't wait. Okay. 1 week since you last saw us, pretty much, isn't it?
Yeah, we just custom made some stuff. I've been custom making these pins. These basically allow us to have the absolute maximum drop on the tie rod. Made them out of some bolts. Yeah.
Not much to show here.
It's an exciting metal block. That's more interesting, which I'm going to get onto in a minute. I'm going to go on the flats on that, but these little jobs
take us weeks.
Probably half a day in that already, just as a prototype. Who knows whether it's going to work?
It's a nice 12.9.
Yeah, we've had to even turn down the main shank area of it to get it to fit here properly through the rod ends. And obviously, I'm fully aware it's a 12.9 bolt, but the moment you turn it down to this thickness, you've gone through the hardness. So it's kind of an experiment, which is also why I haven't got them zinc plated to actually finish them. We're just going to cover them in the silver paste we use on the wheels for the centre locks on the Porsche. But yeah, I managed to get it sort of in the miller, do a nice 16mm spanner on the bottom there, so I can counter hold, and I should be able to do them up really, really tight. This is the spacer that sits above, as that goes through like this, and then it all sandwiches together. And yeah, there's no taper, but actually this is a pretty proven concept on MRT's original design. This is kind of just an extension of it. Let's get that through there. And I've made sure the tolerances on everything are pretty damn tight. So yeah, I can just do that. Not on the top, do it up really tight. We're going to check the bump steer again. I got myself a new gauge.
Oh, new DTI, is it?
It's one that shows in real numbers, not.
How many decimals does that go down to?
0.00 of the millimetres variety, not the thou variety. So this will allow me to understand it a little bit quicker.
And presumably, if it goes up, you get what, toe out? Do you on bump?
Often you get toe in.
Toe in on bumpers. It's not like the wheel turns one way or the other.
But it can be. It literally can be either. And as I said before, essentially what you're trying to do is match as best as possible the length of the ball joint on the top, on the steering here, and to the outer ball joint here, and the ball joint here to the outer ball joint on the lower arm, in terms of length and their incline, their angle. But it's tunable to a degree. We've done as much as we can on this.
As you can see, while Phil was doing that, I was simply moving the rack up here.
Yeah, which I ended up milling these down as well a little bit because it's very tight up against the engine, which we knew it would be.
Yeah.
Obviously, we brought the engine down 15mm and back whatever we did. So that is absolutely as high as this rack can possibly go. It is kind of touching the engine.
In places.
And we do still have very hard but rubber engine mounts on this, so we're going to have to see how that goes there. But we've done absolutely everything that we can. The rack is as high as it can be. And these, as I'll show you in a minute, once they're on, the tie rods are nearly touching the wheel on the inside here. But I'll just assemble it and I'll quickly show you what we've got. So,
We're back, zeroed, and where we were last Thursday.
yeah, with this one that's slightly sticky and in funny numbers going away, and this new Best Qualitat Amazon special. Yeah. So yeah, we're going to do the good combo. It's a very British thing, this. We're going to measure in inches here and millimetres here.
Yeah. So everywhere here's still in miles, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, which probably confuses people quite a lot, doesn't it? So yeah, we are still getting some toe gain here. 127.
So we've halved it.
We've halved that, yeah, so exactly that. So that won't be far off what we measured when we mocked everything up. This is basically just the real version of the fix that we did with all those washers that we stacked up. But now everything is super tight and as solid as it can be. And that pretty much just is what it is, because we can't bring the tie rod down there anymore because it's very, very close to the wheel.
Yeah,
so you can have a quick experiment with caster now. See what effect that has, because essentially the hub's leant back with the tie rod point there and the lower arm mounting point there. So as you reduce caster, in theory, you bring your bump steer into a better correction zone. But I don't want to remove too much caster because I can't put it back on at the top here. We've run out of space, even though we've got these massive custom turrets that we've made at the top here. Physically, the coilover is at the top is as far forward as it can be. So, yeah, we've run out of adjustment again on this car, where we look for millimeters. For everything that we do, it's like, can we gain a millimeter here just to make it more perfect? I don't know whether we're going to get this perfect or not, though. So we'll find out.
Let's see if we can make it better.
Yeah.
So what have you just done?
I've just done a turn on the tension rod, which has pulled the wheel backwards a little bit more. And we'll just see what the difference that makes to this. Probably not that much, but we'll see. wild. Interesting. I'm going to have to do that Steve Morris thing where rather than talking to the camera, I just need to have a little think.
No problem. That's escalated again.
It's not like we're on a deadline and we've got loads and loads of stuff.
It's only 1 week to retro rides now.
And yeah, it can't be corrected unless I reinvent another thing. So yeah, I'm going to reinvent another thing. I'll show you in a minute. Okay, so I think that the last thing I said to you guys was that I was going to show you what I was going to do. And I didn't do that because I just did it instead.
Well, that's how you get stuff done.
I know. Yeah, it took me 3 hours of welding and fabrication on Friday, and then I came in on Saturday with the family. Just to check that it was going to actually work, because yeah, it's been weighing on my mind a little bit whether I was actually going to get it fixed or not. But here's what I've done. Don't look too closely at the welding, but essentially look at the angle of the knuckle here on the adapter.
That
and then
is
it a bit
bright.
too shiny?
Yeah, that's it.
And then if you look at the angle of the coilover here, all I've done is changed that. They almost matched perfectly before, and essentially what I've done is twisted it so this point here to this point here is bigger, and this is the same or shorter. So what that's done is essentially rolled the knuckle, rolled all of this down, which brings us into the zone of correct bump steer, because I can't obviously do that any further here, because as you can see, clearance I got absolutely spot on, as tight as I could get it. And I can't move the rack up anymore. So this was the best solution that I could come up with. It is a little bit crude the way they've done it, but yeah, it's totally sound. It proves the concept if nothing else, and maybe down the line I'll make a whole new set of bottom brackets for these that will actually get rid of this adapter block that I made previously as well. But yeah, great success, done the test, and I think we're at 0.15 mil toe in. Just with very crude adjustments to, I could remove a little bit of caster on this as well, because it's essentially rolled the spindle forwards. You have to be a bit careful not to go too far, because you start affecting things like trail. But yeah, seems a bit crude, has actually worked perfectly, or so the maths says. Now all we've got to do, or what Jay's got to do, is replicate exactly what I've done here.
After not watching you do it? Yeah.
Well, obviously I'm gonna do it with you, but it might be easier to see on here actually. See how pretty much straight that is here. It's got a little bit of angle on it there. So all I've done is slotted these holes and lent this way. So lent the coilover this way, which increases the gap between that and that. And that was the solution. That was how far we needed to go to make that happen. But yeah, quite a complicated thing to slot, because it's got those mounts there, which is the easy bit, but it's got that mount there. So I had to shim it. Lots of welding, lots of cutting. Yeah, you enjoy.
Get on with it.
Made Jay some nice crude marks to replicate the other side.
Perfectly marked.
And he's got the wuzzer, and away we go. Where's your ear defenders?
There.
You need them.
Okay.
Right, okay, Dad.
Oh, Dad.
There we go. Safety third. Happy?
Enough.
I mean, you can't see the one that I did, so
Yeah.
I'm the only one that can compare. I don't think they can't see either.
No,
I didn't even
no one
film
needs
it.
to see, but it's
Nah,
on.
that looks pretty sweet, to be fair. Yeah, not been painted yet, obviously, but this is the bit at the top that I was trying to explain. Essentially, you have to have a shim because this bit becomes angled. So this is a wedge here that's welded in place so that when this is clamped up, it's everything's at the correct angle. You can see there, just had to slot that side to allow that to fall into place. Everything now has the correct angle on these bolts as well. So it was a bit hard to see before, but when it was clamping before, this wedge here, there wasn't a wedge on the other side. So actually this is an improvement. And yeah, it looks sound. It looks identical pretty much, probably a bit fancier. But yeah, now you can do your fancy paint and it'll all be done.
Is that one painted?
Yep.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, my best work. Don't look.
It's just perfection.
It's the little bits, more of those little bits that you never see, and this is why stuff takes weeks.
Weeks, yeah.
So yeah, we have had a little problem with these start life as these. And we'd machine them down so small just to retain, so the bearing goes, the rod end goes between two of these, but we'd machine them down so far that when we took them off a couple of times, this basically pressed off like a washer. So I need to make some slightly bigger ones of those, which I've done here, but when you make those bigger, I've had to take some off the pins here, like an exact amount, to get it right. And then when I do the same on the bottom, I'm then going to have to turn that down even more than we've already done. Yeah. And that's kind of running out of space.
We need the castle nut to line up with the holes.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just doing some more maths and lathing. People love it when I call it lathing.
Whizzing.
Whizzing. Firing hot rocks of metal down my watch as well.
Nice.
Professional. Don't wear gloves.
Yeah. Or a tie.
Yeah. No, that I wouldn't do.
Remember that at school?
Don't wear a tie when you're on the lathe.
Yeah, you took it in your top.
I bandsaw, remember that, yeah.
Maybe we didn't have a knife, maybe I just imagined it.
No.
We're nearly there.
I think so. We forgot to mention the other day and a half or day spent
it was,
recreating the anti-roll bar blade because we snapped one at the ring as I was on a cool down lap through the back section. I was staying too far out of somebody's way as they overtook me, and yeah, it snapped a welded part, which we always knew was a weak point. I'd made it twice already, so yeah, we've decided to remake this entire part in one, just out of solid bar, just simply.
Just simply, yeah. I mean, it wasn't the worst thing in the world to make, to be honest.
No, but its captive's got an M14 bolt in the end, or M16. M14.
Yeah, it's a bit of a fiddly thing.
And then it's got this clamp here that stops it rotating as well, because normally this is adjustable like the other side is there, like blade type, but we just need one side of adjustment because we know we pretty much have it on full stiff the whole time. But yeah, a few bits left, and then
quick alignment.
And then another week, and then another month, and then we'll be done.
And then quick ECU plug, and then on the trailer.
Yep. Yeah, that's probably about it for this episode. As usual, that escalated quite badly from a very simple solution of essentially putting something back to how it was, but in the process, obviously requiring significant improvement. So that's literally probably a little bit more than a week from the first part of footage that you saw to this part here, and we've still got to get it all back together, and we've still got to align it, but you know, you've seen us do that plenty of times before, so we won't bother showing you that. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for shopping at driftworks.com. We've got a sale running at the moment that's probably about to end, so go check out the website, see whether there's anything you fancy, and as always, we appreciate your support, helping fund the stupid stuff that we do with cars here. So yeah, we'll see you next time. Cheers.